So you go down and down and down. The heart rate starts dropping.
There's an astonishing amount of pressure exerted on the lungs.
You get dizzy and have visions that are not real.
Divers themselves very much downplay the danger of the sport.
I'm very competitive, always have been since I was a kid.
Alexey is the greatest freediver in the world. If Alexey can get all 5 world records within the same season, it would be something that's never been done before.
My mom was my coach since the beginning.
Natalia Molchanova is widely considered the greatest freediver of all time. She'd had 41 world records and 23 world titles.
They were like best friends, and now Alexey is training to follow in the footsteps of his mother. But that can be dangerous.
40 meters, 50, 100, 140.
Natalia was teaching in Spain and went down on a fun dive, and she didn't come back up.
And I was so surprised to see Alexey was competing.
I was thinking, oh my God, can you not take a year off or so?
That was his way to overcome the pain.
Alexey is going deeper than he has been before.
He's going too far.
Have you and your wife ever talked about what would happen if you did come back?
No.
I don't understand the reasoning for adding 8 meters to a dive that you failed.
Expected dive time, 4 minutes.
Alexey doesn't see himself in any danger. But does a Formula One driver think they could die when they get behind the wheel? There are risks we are willing to take and we get comfortable with. And because of that, we think that we're immune to them. When you have this physiological ticket to eternity, that would be addictive.
Boom, there you go. That was a trailer for FREEDIVER arriving on Prime Video. You can also buy and rent on digital on December 7th. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. Joining me to talk all things FREEDIVER is writer, director, producer, Michael John Warren. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Absolutely. It's great to talk with you.
A pleasure. Man, this project, but even before I get into this, you are amazing. You've done a lot of great documentaries. I'm a fan of your work. From music to other athletes to now this project, just outstanding work. I'm curious, your why. From what I saw a little bit in watching you recently, you did a CBS interview. You were already working on a documentary about Russian divers. And then, this whole thing happened. This article came out from GQ and it kind of changed everything. And now you're back in with I think the focus maybe have changed. If you could just tell me, how this all kind of came together.
It actually started with that GQ article, and some friends of mine in LA, I live in Brooklyn. Some friends of mine in LA said, "Hey, do you want to make this movie? Because if you do, we do." My friends at Boardwalk Pictures, who I work with as often as I can because I love them, and I read the article and I was like, God, that sounds really challenging. Yes, let's do it. That sounds impossible. How are we going to do that? Let's go. The thing that changed was we sort of got some of our funding together, and then Alexey got banned from the sport. We started shooting the film, and then because he's Russian and Russia had invaded Ukraine, Alexey got banned from the sport that he's dedicated his life to. So he used to sit out an entire season. At the top of that season, he had 3 world records. By the end of that season, he had 1 world record. Alexey says, okay, I'm coming back to the sport. I'm going to take back my 2 world records that I won, and I'm going to set even more world records. In fact, I'm going to have the most dominant season in the history of one of the deadliest sports in the world. It's a near-suicidal quest. This film crew is going to be here to capture it, and it's going to turn into an incredible film, and I believe that's what has happened.
And you have succeeded. Definitely, sir. Again, everybody, December 7th, go check it out. Prime Video on all the digital platforms. So as a creative filmmaker myself, like you, okay, I'm going to do this water diving project, right? But so the actual, recording of this, and then with such a kind of of an athlete where the risk is so huge. What was that like? Are you a swimmer? Are you a diver? Like, what was it like?
I can swim, but not as good as Alexey can.
What was it like being involved in creating this project with your crew?
Really hard. this is about the hardest thing I've ever had to film. A lot of this film happens hundreds of feet underwater. Think about that. There's a reason why there's not a lot of underwater films. It's because it's a very difficult place to film. Filming above the water on a boat is really hard. Under the water is very challenging. I put together a really great team. Shout out to my director of photography, Jeff Peterman, who helped me sort of crack the way we were going to do this. I had an incredible scuba team from Belgium. Shout out to Tommy V and his whole gang, and all of my producers. This was not an easy film to do. It was very dangerous to do. We took it all very seriously. We understood that not only is Alexey putting himself on the line, he's putting himself on the line more than we ever did, but we are also out on boats in the middle of the Philippines and Honduras, and we're doing a lot of crazy stuff as a film crew as well. Figuring out how to capture a world record that happens 512 feet underwater, and you're only going to get one take, and you're not going to film it on a GoPro. This isn't a GoPro movie. This is a cinema experience, a cinematic experience. So I believe we have set a world record as a film crew ourselves with the deepest image of a human being out in the open water. Even the great James Cameron can't say he did that. And I love James Cameron. Please keep making movies. I love them. But when you can say you did something underwater that James Cameron hasn't done, I'm going to say that every interview, and I am saying it every interview.
Go ahead.
But anyway, it was really technically hard to figure out how to make this film. It was not easy. There was nothing sort of, we took some existing technologies and combined them in a way that had never been combined before. I really didn't want to just shoot this on a GoPro because I thought that was weak. I wanted to make something that you could really feel. And I think we did that.
So are you able to see it in process as he was doing it in real time, or you have to like wait several hours?
Some of it. Some of it. I am watching that super deep camera live, and there's someone up on the boat next to me, a French guy. Forgetting his name right now, and I'm so embarrassed. But he basically is using an underwater drone. And what's crazy about him is he was a professional gamer, right? He's young. But he's like, I had to retire from gaming because I turned too old. He's like 28. I'm like, too old for professional gaming? He's like, yeah. Like once you get past like 25, you can't keep up anymore. I'm like, okay, that's even higher standards in the NFL and in the NBA, but okay, sure. Anyway, so I'm watching his work live, but I also have a scuba team that's doing some of the more shallow work. And by shallow, I mean like, 20, 30 meters, 60 feet underwater. And I can't quite see what they're doing. And I have my other film crews that are above the water. So I'm seeing a lot of what's happening live. Yes.
Wow. This is amazing. I just can't fathom. I hate that double entendre there, fathom. But
fathom. A lot of that on this project. Let's go on a deep dive. Anyway. Sorry.
Wild. So one of the things that I really enjoyed about this is one of the through threads is the relationship between mother and son. And I think you captured that beautifully with this whole project. Can you tell me about that for you, and when you were in that editing process and putting it all together and having that, balance between the tales of both?
Yeah, it's hard. Editing is really hard. People need to understand, especially in documentary, it's about probably the hardest form of editing there is documentary editing, film editing, and finding the weave between her historical story, his historical story, where he's at, what he's trying to do, and how all those things intersect is not easy. I'm really proud of how we put it together in this film. There's a scene that happens in France, off the coast of Nice, where I feel like that's my favorite moment in the film, where a lot of the threads that are happening in the film sort of all come into play in this one dive in a way that I'm really proud of. And the answer to your question is like, we did it by doing 1,000 versions and being like, that's pretty good, but let's take that from this and let's go back to this other version we had, and you just keep doing it. Editing is not for normal people. Like if you're a normal person, don't become a freediver, and do not become a film editor, because you have to have like almost like a personality disorder level of patience for film editing. Shout out to Mohammed El Masterly, who cut this film for me, and Katie Dunn, who helped us shape the story in the field and in post. We just did it really, really, trial and error. I did kind of know that France felt like the place because he was setting a world record that his mother had also. I felt like that was during that dive, I thought I could make all the different parts of the film sort of click in that scene. So I was trying to do that in production as well, but you never know until you get to the edit room what's going to work and what isn't going to work.
I feel that. Definite pro tips right there in regards to filmmaking and what line of work you want to choose in this industry. Again, this film is so inspiring, and I really appreciate your work from the gamut of everything you've covered. What do you hope people take away after they see Freediver when it launches on December 7th?
I think it's up to them. I feel like my work is done here. I've put up a film, and what people want to get out of it, they should get out of it. But I will offer some observations from my sort of experience with making the film. This is a sport. First of all, it's PG. You can watch it with your whole family. Although I will say there are some very intense. It's a sports thriller documentary with psychedelic elements in it. I'm not sure there's ever been a film like that before. Again, it was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. I was like, I don't know if there's ever been a film like this. But it's PG. You can watch it with your mom, your dad, your kids. Everyone can watch this. There's some pretty intense physical beats happening in there. There's definitely a thriller element to what's happening in here. So one, you should watch the film with everyone. Two, it's more than just a sports story. It's actually a human story. It's like you said, it's a story about a son who's almost strangely close to his mother. And she's actually more vaulted and more honored in the sport than he is. And so how does he respect her legacy, but also challenge her legacy and try to do better than even she does? All while he's also leaving his son back home as he travels the world to go on these death-defying events. So how do we as human beings with ambition make the most out of the opportunities before us, but also not betray the people who love us who are back home? That's what I think the film's about. I don't know if people are I hope people get that from the film, but who cares what I think about the film? The question is what do you guys all think about the film?
I hear that. Well, Michael, as you said earlier, this was a challenge to make. I think you succeeded in this challenge. It's another great entry into your great film resume. I had a lot of fun with this, and I know everybody will enjoy it when it drops on December 7th. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. I really appreciate you, man, and all of your work.
Appreciate that, man. Take care.
Definitely. Everybody, Freediver arrives on digital Prime Video December 7th. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. Thank you, sir.
Peace.
Recording. All right. Thank you so much. Michael, it's a pleasure to chat with you.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, sir. Ready to have some fun?
I appreciate the free real estate for my poster behind you. That's nice.
Gotta show love. Gotta support. I know what it is as a filmmaker.
I appreciate it. All right. Cool. Thanks, man.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much again for your time. I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1 count to help me with my edit, and we'll rock and roll.
Sounds good. Hit it.
All right. Here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.